But I would like to say that I think the start of the Jubilee done more for the well drillers in North Carolina than any other, because it got one another talking to one another and meeting one another and enjoying one another, and their wives and their children, because the Jubilee meant a lot to the children. And a lot of children in North Carolina that's probably up in the working with the parents today grew up coming to the Myrtle Beach, growing up right there, and that's what they remember about it.
But it was the highlight of the summer, and we just had a blast.
Well, it was my vacation. It was a trip to the beach to me as a child, and then you got to meet, we took a lot of family with us, so it was a time that we would not have had otherwise. And then we met so many other people, other kids. There were a lot of kids, and as the Jubilee grew, it became more and more.
I grew up, Worth Pickard's children were the same age as I was, so still with some of those, and just met different people along the way with different drillers. And
one of the most exciting things is when we got there, we would pull into the parking lot and you would see the big rigs out there like welcoming you, and now they're inside the building. But when we drove up years and years ago, that was the first thing you saw were the big rigs.
Well, I think he wanted the families to be part of that community too, and it really was neat.
When the Jubilee came along, they tried to make it a family type setting, and it was exactly that. I'd get together with drillers' kids and salesmen's kids and the whole thing, and we would. It was camaraderie, and you get a bunch of drillers together. Just the stories come out, and one guy can learn from the other guy's mistakes and successes, and it's just a great camaraderie of people, like-minded people, because you don't stay in this business unless your heart's in it.
It's still the same community of people coming together, and you develop relationships and see them over and over, and you all have this shared experience, shared good time.
And there's no question when people work together, it's a lot better than just one or two. So by all of them working together, it brings more people in, and you have more to see. In other words, way back yonder, you didn't see well machine. You had to go to a company or something like that. But there you could go see a well machine. You could talk to a vendor about it and whatnot. And that's how a lot of companies that are in business today started, that their fathers went to the convention and met a salesman and bought a well machine and started on their own.
The Jubilee means a whole lot to me personally. I think because of the history of my uncle who started on it. I don't really think they knew how great it was going to turn out. It was this small puzzle they put together. They just tried to make an event to try to help educate well contractors, well drillers as we call them, and just have a family affair to make them more family oriented. And it certainly has done that, and I look forward to it every year.
It means a lot in that, my great-grandfather went to the first one and was, and attended that, and our families, all four generations have been going to the Jubilee, so it's a, from in today's world, things are fast and quick, and things that are still going on for a long time are pretty few and far between, so it's neat to be a part of something that's got some legacy to it.
Probably I remember going to Carolina Beach, and in those days you had to dress up to go to the shrimp dinner. I can remember I had to wear a dress with little socks with the lace on them, and it has changed drastically since through the years now that you show up in shorts and flip-flops. But those are the things I remember. I
think it's really important because it's still the, a forum where everybody that a lot of times you compete against, but also people that are fighting the same issues you are. It's a forum to get together in kind of a neutral zone, so to speak.
But the people enjoyed it because they mingled, they met other people, And that is what I think helped the wilderness more than anything else, because people got to know one another, and that way they got to be friends and all like that.
Allie Moore arranged for a deep sea fishing trip. I don't know what of those 3 days it was, but you know, whoever wanted to go could go. So they went out one day. Seas were rough. My dad got sick, really sick, toilet hugging sick. And so after a while, they started yelling and saying, "Hey, George, you got a big one on the line. You got a big one on the line." So he said he was so sick and so weak, so he drug himself up out of the cabin of the boat, and he goes back to the back. And Garrison had told him they'd throw a line out for him, so he gets it, and he says he fights it. He finally gets it in, and they had tied a bucket to the end of his line. And that was Mr. Allie Moore who did that.
One small story that went on and haunted me for years afterwards was the flooding of the Bame Hotel that I, to this day, still say my brother did. But the crew was together, and my younger brother, who's a couple years younger than me, he's probably 6 or 7, I was 9, 10, something like that. But Valley Steel had put out these sponges little novelty items with their name on it, and they were flat because they were dehydrated. When you put them in water, they grew. And before all these fancy electronics that kids have today, that was fun for us. Put it in water, the thing grows, and it's just wonderful, you know. So long story short, we put it in the sink, and it grew, and it stopped up the sink, and somebody left the water on. The person that did that, I do not know to this day, but I always blamed it on my brother. Flooded 4 stories of the Bame Hotel, but back at that time, Mr. Bame, who was also the mayor of Carolina Beach, worked it out with my father somehow that it didn't cost us the company to rebuild the hotel. But yeah, we had a camaraderie of a bunch of young people, and it was a lot of fun getting together like that.
It's like a family reunion. When we had the cookout, we would see people, the same people did the same job every year. The little lady served the shrimp, she was there every year. My daddy served the drinks every year. And those are the people that you got out of the car wanting to see, and you knew they were going to be there. So that's what made it a difference of going to something that was also a profession, but also you were going to see family.
Well, it meant to me that I was involved, because I always wanted a person involved. And I enjoyed working. Now, I'll tell you something that people wouldn't understand. I never had to ask anybody to help. And people were, well, how in the world, you know, but people would come to me on Sunday and say, well, if you need anybody, I said, yeah. So people would work. Now, when I got on the board of the National, I would ask them to come down with National. We would have a board meeting at Myrtle Beach, and then they would work with us serving people, and they got to know people that way.
It was a base camp, if you will, for all the drillers to get together and discuss the political nature of water, which is even more so today, where they could discuss the different regulations that are coming up. And not only that, the regulators themselves, the people with the state, at first it was just North Carolina and then the whole region, could get together and listen to the drillers, because they're the ones that were in the field and understood the problems. And you're not going to get anything changed unless you have that conversation with each other. And I think that plus, again, the seminars and all, back when the continuing ed was required, you'd end up learning a lot and understanding what a valuable resource we were responsible for. And I think that had a lot to do with it.
I mean, you're not there only for business. You're there to relax and commune together.
Well, I think it's important for it to continue for everybody nationwide. I mean, the Jubilee is expansive, and we have people come from all over the United States. It is a place where people come together and they meet and learn about our industry. It's a little bit different than what the National is, because you're able to come in and celebrate it with your family. You have more time there that's impersonal. or more personal time. So I think that's what you need to do. Make it fun, and that's what it's always been.
I would like to say, especially to the younger people, to not turn their back on the Jubilee for the reasons that I stated before. I think it's a valuable asset to them in the future of the industry, to get together and learn things from each other as well as the vendors and the manufacturers who come. It's just invaluable, and don't turn your back on it. Stay with it, support it, and come every year if you possibly can, and it'll be a success, and it'll be advantageous to them as well.
Probably to keep it going, to keep the families united, but also when you're dealing with water and you're dealing with environment, that is something that no matter where we live, that's important to us.
Oh, we had a lot of people that worked hard to get it going years ago, and it's much easier for us today to probably get to Myrtle Beach than it was for them to get to Carolina Beach in the 50s. So I think most of us can find time to get there or participate, and it's something that distinguishes us from a lot of other parts of the country. Not many things you look at that's been going on 60 years. So
I'm just glad I had the opportunity to serve in the parts I have.
You heard from people whose families have been attending the Jubilee for generations. The Jubilee is an extension of our heritage. It's the fostering of friendships and business relationships, the gathering of families, and a forum to discuss existing technologies and any pending legislation that affects our industry. We hope you enjoyed this video. Happy 60th birthday, Jubilee. From the family of Preferred Pump to yours, we wish you continued success and prosperity.